So I have like a small amount of bullet points to go through here. I just wanted to highlight the Facebook post that contains the DAT file we're going to kind of continue working on. Another way to find these files, I think, and I have not done a group before, but you can click files and find the sort of ongoing files here. So I don't know how large these can get, but we might use this pretty like after a next survey. You know, we'll do Climax survey file, and we'll put the date and put the date on it, and then keep that running. So everyone will always have access to the raw data. We'll see if we can do that as well with the Illustrator files. But again, I just wanted to highlight where that is. All the issues that you guys were able to find, a lot should have been tackled in the cave. So now like we have to go back and do them. Like we don't want to this early in a project and just doing a project in general, you don't want to just walk away from these azimuth errors. Because you never know what the cave will be. In Climax, we have an idea, I guess, but like this shot, 23.7 degrees azimuth error is an issue. And then there was a couple of other issues we had. So like this already starts an objective list. Last time we met, I was like, oh, we should make an objective list. It was a little ambitious. We'll naturally run into them. This is one of them. All of these kind of need to be done from a data standpoint on the next trip.
So, Bo, I don't have a lot of people scheduled to come on the November 9th, 18th trip, but I think that those are manageable tasks to do for a small group. Do you want us to just do like reshots of that and not necessarily get new survey during the November one?
Right.
Then?
So when we put in the photos in Illustrator next week, I mean, we'll put them in this week, but actually analyze them next week. I might make another post. There'll be a little bit more to do on the sketching side that you can go off of, but from a strict data thing, we have to get these things fixed and add them to this file, the Climax survey file.dat. So that's one of the things. If you're going, if there's not enough people to go or interested in it or able to go with the Thanksgiving and all that, then do the December one. But if you're going, we need these. And this is the kind of thing that ideally, as this is being recorded, anyone listening, this is where we want like a few people thinking this way and reviewing this information as these trips continue and being like, that. And that's good feedback for the people on the trips as well. Like it's good to tackle these things while we're out there. No biggie having to go back and get them, but we need to know to go back and get them. And that's, that's a hard part with the projects.
Okay. So I think this probably needs to be done in a timely manner so that you guys can continue with this, the final map and the Adobe Illustrator portion. So
well,
I think these are manageable.
It will up like, so let me show you the next, like it's fine if we keep going and then update the line plot. We're just going to have to do it again and then import another one, but it's fine.
Okay. All I'm saying is like, these are manageable goals for a small group to do on November 18th. And if we don't get additional survey, perhaps we just focus in on cleanup. And if you can give me these objectives, and maybe if you need us to do like the entrance sketch or that one room.
Yeah, so that's the thing that when we get to, I was going to mention all that stuff when we get to these scans, whether that's this week or next week though. But yeah, there's a list of like getting the main room or getting the entrance sketched is one thing. And then you guys could use a little bit of time and just continue the survey after doing those cleanup things.
Okay.
As well. And everything, this is one scenario where, oh my gosh, good thing we labeled all the stations. I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but like they're all going to be easy to find because they all are like labeled fully and not just dots. But usually when you're going on a survey, you're not always labeling every station, you're just labeling the junctions. But in this case, this highlights the importance of doing it in this one, I think. Okay, so that was this. I wanted to show the map, a map in Illustrator 10, which is what we'll be using. So this is Illustrator 10. This is what we're going to get familiar with. And I just wanted to kind of show the concept of layers and what we're going to be importing here. So this is the Fallen Timbers earlier save. And I have a list of layers here on the side, and it says plan because they misspelt it, but it's the plan. And it's actually the plan line plot. So if you see me clicking that, you're seeing that red line come in. So if I zoom in slightly, you'll see all the stations, A1 to A2, A2 to A3 must be right below it, A4 to A5, A5 to A6, A7. This is what we're wanting to import. We need this line plot, and that's on Compass, and it looks good. It's that PLT file, and it'll show the stations, but we need to get that on here. And we need to get it on here because I'm going to turn on scans. We're literally going to take our scans, and I don't know if this one is lined up on it. Mystery D1. No, it's not just automatic. Oh, well, there's C2. We're going to take our scans, and if you can see my cursor circling, that's C2. We're going to match C2 to the line plot that we import, and you can see C2 to C3. And in this case, you can see just a little bit there that the person who sketched it, which probably was me, sketched it 4 feet too long. Oops. That's a whole different discussion, but right now, just so you know, we're going to try to import this red line plot and then import all of our scans so that we can kind of line them up on station to station, and then the next time start drawing in the walls. But I just wanted to show, you know, hey, I got a ton of layers here. So layers is a word you're going to hear. We got a layer for scans, and we have a layer that can turn on and off the line plot. And this is Illustrator 10, so I don't know if it's 2010 or what, or this is CS2. This is the old one that we all have access to. The subscription plan looks like this because you have to subscribe now. And this is one that I'm working on right now, and we just did a ton of walls. But I have a layer for my walls, so I can change them all at once. And then I have a layer for scans, where I have all my scans and I'm matching these up to the line plot and putting in the walls. But everything's got to be scaled right. You have to import it all scaled correctly and all that, and import it almost with its own little scale attached to it for this to work. And in this case, when I made this line plot, I made the line plot at 20 feet to the inch, not knowing that all the scans were sketched at 15 feet to the inch. So every time on all these scans, I went in and I like changed their size to match the line plot size. So that was a mistake on my part, and it was like by the time I noticed, it was too late to change it. And I have other colors here because we're working on some like really old scans, and we're trying to and there's no profile. We're trying to just figure out. Actually, there is a profile, but we don't have any of that like processed yet. We're just trying to figure out what's going on, what leads to identifying stuff. So there's a lot. This was like a first pass. So we want to get the red line plot in, and we want to get the scans in. And I just wanted to kind of show that. And we're going to pick off where we left off, which is the Climax survey. So this should look familiar. You want to be able to open these and find these. In this case, if you lose it, you can just re-download it from the Facebook group. We're trying to get the process and view cave portion. We're trying to get this over to, oh, that's not good. Did I open the wrong one? I did. I may not have saved the, I think it's just in my downloads. There it is. Okay, we're trying to get the process and view cave one into Illustrator so we have that line plot. So we have this. It'd be great if we could just copy and paste it in. It's not that easy. And And that's the plan view. Profile looks a little funky right now. And I did want to highlight before we go any further, sort of what this survey looks like, what we ended up with. So we have a group, all their names. We have a couple question marks on last names that we have to fill in. And then we have our survey, and we have some good comments that everyone made on this. So you can kind of investigate more on the comments. I put them on the Facebook group to where we know what we need to do in this case. But the data looks good. I double checked it, and we're ready to import that data into Illustrator. We will have to do this again when we get more survey in. So every time you go put more survey in, you kind of got to go through this process again to update it. There might be a slightly better way, but we'll talk about that later. So the PowerPoint that you guys can reference back to, I'll post. And Howard put it together, and Howard put together that whole website, all kind of based on the idea of sharing data to some extent. So this is I don't think this is updated to revision 3 on the website, but we'll have the updated version that I'm showing here on our Facebook group. So
Hey,
Bo,
yep. Sorry, what's the website again that Howard has?
Oh, so I just type in like GCG.
CaveCartography.org.
Do you mind putting it in the chat?
Just search Cave Cartography. Click
so if
that.
you type Cave Cartography, yeah. So he did it early enough to get cavecartography.com.
Oh, great! Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
And in survey training, he's got some PDFs, and he even has or PowerPoints. He even has one on open cave data, which was in 2007 NSS convention, which shares the belief of open data and the concepts on which this website was built. And yeah, so it's cool. And there's some other stuff in there, but this PowerPoint is not updated on there, but it will be on our little group. So it says, okay, you have a great looking plot and compass that we just looked at Climax's plot. Now what? And then he's kind of going over Illustrator. So I pulled up Illustrator very briefly there and showed you guys, layers exist. He's got a quick overview of computer graphics. I've never had to run it. There's raster graphics. And when areas are picked and moved, everything goes there. There's no difference between different parts. And there's vector graphics. And I guess what all you need to know is we're using vector graphics in Illustrator. So we can pull a group of rocks out, or we can change all the slope images. Like there's the slope signs there. They're pretty small, or if you have, I'm just going to say slope signs. You could change what all the slope symbols look like if you layer them all correctly, just by a couple clicks of a button. So as you're building a map, you can make major changes later if you manage your layers right. If you put all the slopes in the same layer, you can change the design of the slopes. You can make all the slopes bigger. You can make all the slopes smaller, all on the whole map at once. So that's what we're doing in Illustrator with our layers. Illustrator 10 is posted on the Facebook group. Did anybody try to install it and have success?
We tried, but haven't really gotten it to work yet. So yeah. We might just be doing it wrong.
So the only thing I practiced with was I sent it to Stephanie on like Facebook Messenger, and it's like it's an exe file, and she was able to get it downloaded. So I'll talk with Stephanie on how her process went. I'll try to make another post with it. It might be, I shared it on like a Google Drive thing, so you'd have to download it onto your computer and then run it, I think, but I don't know. I've never shared it electronically before.
Yeah, I downloaded it and then I asked it to run and then it ran. I am not a computer savvy person, so.
And it's not a file on here. It's hidden right now in the discussion.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm curious what it is.
Is it the same link? Yeah, because all it is I took what you sent me, I downloaded it, I had to unzip it,
Yeah, so
and put
this
it in a
this
folder 'cause
thing,
it doesn't want to run if it's in the zip. But then
okay.
after that, if you click run, it'll just take care of itself. And then the
So
Word document has the password.
right, yep. So if you haven't tried
Yeah, I was able to get it
downloading
to
it,
run through it.
unzipping it, and running it that way, which your computer probably isn't going to like, but I've had no issues, and I've been I've been using this as well for a long time up until this year is when I got the other one, just because I didn't want to pay the money. But that seems I'm curious if you haven't tried that yet. If you try it, let me know if it doesn't work. We'll get it fixed. But that's what we'll be drawing in. This is the standard screen. We had this earlier. This is simply one working box in Illustrator. So if I close my file there, I don't have a file open, and I can open a new file. And so that's sort of what's going on here. It's a little funky at first. I always just try to work on one file at one time and then make sure it's filling the whole screen. Let's see what's next. Opening a new document. He wants to make sure you know about layers, that we can make them, because we're going to be putting our line plot into a layer. But I don't want to go too much into it right now. I just want to show you how to do it. You can lock layers. So you can lock the line plot so you don't actually pull a piece of the line plot out, or you can lock your scan so you don't actually like work on a scanned layer. So just know there's layers. You can stack them, you can lock them, you can make them invisible, you can add sub layers. And if you're smart about your layers, you can do a lot differently as the cave changes, or as you learn new things. We don't need to go into that. Okay, so we want to just I want to show you on this how to get the compass line plot into Adobe Illustrator, and you're going to do that with SVG Exporter. So SVG Exporter is not compass. This is compass. This is compass. This is SVG Exporter. And SVG Exporter, if you download it to your desktop, looks like this green compass. So it's got the same image as compass, but it's green and it says SVG on top. And I've got a 1 and a 2 because he made an update once and I just never deleted the original one. But the guy who's working on it he's very accessible. I asked him to do one thing because I thought it'd be cool, and he did it like the next day, and I was like, what? So SVG Exporter is one way to do this, and that's what we're going to show you right now. CaveWhere kind of has its own version of this, but that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, depending on the situation. At least that's my experience. So in SVG Exporter, you're going to click File, and it says Open PLT File. And then it brings that WComp32 file. It's possible that in the WComp32 file, you see a PLT file right now if you last time worked on the Climax compass, because it just automatically saves it in this weird location. For me, I didn't save mine there, so I'm going to maneuver my cave maps, my specific cave maps, Climax Cave. The problem is, what I realized there is I didn't save that updated file I shared in the group there. I saved it in my downloads, so I need to do something really quick. I need that. I'm just going to put it on my desktop.
Did you just make a dat pun?
A what?
A dat pun? I need dat.
Oh, no.
I was about to say
So,
the data file. Okay.
File, open PLT file. If you just like follow the steps when you made your compass file, it's hiding in this WComp thing. In my case, it's on the desktop and it's showing the PLT file. And it doesn't show many other files except the PLT file. So if you can find your compass file, it saved it as a DAT and it saved it as a PLT. The PLT specifically is the like process and view cave thing. This is the PLT file. The compass file is more like that data, the raw data. So if you open the PLT file, it opens as this. And you can do a lot while you're here. You can like turn the stations on. You can change the degree of 3D-ness, like make it like octagons and it gets like a little more 3D. You can change the pitches. You can change which way north is. And a lot of that, not all of it, will stick as you export into Illustrator. So there's been times where I've taken the profile and I've pitched the profile like looking downwards into the cave to get sort of a 3D effect that way. And you see all these greens and blues, that's like the LRUDs working. That's some LRUD stuff going on. And you can see each station has 2 LRUD sets. Stephanie, I believe this is the 2 ways that we do LRUDs that you're seeing here.
Okay.
But not entirely positive. But one always looks like it's perpendicular and one looks like it's that angle thing that you do between stations, or perpendicular to and perpendicular from. But when I don't use the LRUD lines in Illustrator at all. What they do is they kind of affect the 3D box, but I never use the 3D box in Illustrator much at all. So what do we do here? Again, Howard's got step-by-step instructions, and for the purposes of today, I just want to show you really quickly how do you get to Illustrator. You need to change, there's 6 little things here in the corner. SVG survey, passage scale, or POS scale, passage, paper, display. We first need to make this scale correctly. Right now it's in 35 feet to the inch. We all sketched in 20 feet to the inch. And now it's like, oh shit, it looks worse. You need the units in feet. And you need to start, you need to be able to see your entire, yeah, you know, I don't know if you actually need to do that before you export, but I always do. So in paper and display, display, we can label the stations just to give a better idea, but you don't have to click any of that before you export it. What we need to do is make the paper bigger so we get our full situation here for the export. So by maneuvering these tabs, you can find the paper size, paper X and paper Y under display and paper. And then there's also, we can offset the cave to sort of match. Again, I have not investigated if you actually don't need to do this first, because you pretty much need to import it, scale it, make sure you're angled where you want to be angled. In this case, we're north, it's pointing up. But you can also change those rotations, and you can see our north arrow as I change it, changes. And it also gives you a reading 30 and 330 to give you an idea of the degrees that you're facing. And this is nothing I think you should worry about right now, this early in this. If you, as you make more maps, you start to be like, well, I can play with these directions. This one just rotates it the other way. So we have not done much. We clicked open PLT file, which automatically was saved when we saved our DAT file. Wherever you saved the DAT file, it saved a PLT file with it. We opened SVG Exporter. We said it defaults to plan view. It defaults to feet. We changed this 20 feet to the inch because that's what we sketched at. And then we just made sure we could see it and review it essentially. And we have these 3D walls. We have blue and green LRUD lines at different angles for each station. And then you just click Export SVG. and it's going to go through compatibility stuff. We want it to be compatible with Illustrator. Inkscape's another version of Illustrator. I keep add Illustrator tags on because we're exporting it to Illustrator. I remove Inkscape tags, but honestly, I had not had an issue keeping the Inkscape tags, but it gives me the warm and fuzzies. I remove, it says remove Illustrator binary data. I just keep it checked. And then 10 CS1 and CS2 compatible. That's the old Illustrator files that we're using. So we want it to be compatible with those. So I always check that. Because you're downloading that free download we have, bootlegged download from the past is CS2. You click finished, and then you got to save it somewhere again. And that's why I always save stuff to a specific cave location. So my Climax Cave spot, it's saving it as an SVG file. So I've saved the plan view. Now I need to do the profile view. And all I'm going to do is click profile. And now we have the profile here. We have to, once again, 20 feet to the inch. Give us the warm and fuzzies and get this thing on the screen. And this is the feature I had the guy add, pitch. So we can like look down on the cave or look up on the cave. And we know the cave started at A1. So this is actually a really interesting view. That's us walking into the cave, heading into the B passage, which is still big room. All that's the big room. And there's the C passage coming at us. We could rotate that to get a better angle. And now we're really seeing where the D team surveyed, down there below the C passage. So, you know, you can get really creative with this. I don't think you should mess with that until the cave's done for profile. You want to, I always start it just facing north, and I just want to get something in there. Some people don't import the profile until way later on in the project. And you'll see why. You'll understand that a little bit more when we go to actually make the profile in Illustrator. But we're gonna export it just by the default facing north as far as a trending line and zero pitch. It'll always default as this. We're gonna make sure it's 20 feet to the inch, and we're gonna click export SVG. All the same things that we clicked on last time are still there. Remember that I saved it in Climax Cave last time, but what I didn't do, I didn't say that my file, the SVG file, was a plan view. So I'm going to make sure I remember that this is the profile. Going to click save, and that's it. We have done the hard part, processing the PLT stuff to get ported into Illustrator. So then you'll just open your file. And this is where you always start. And it might, you know what, it'll actually open another Illustrator file. But when you're in Illustrator, so once you get a download, you open it, you're going to get a gray screen with nothing there. You can click File, Open. And I'm going to go to Climax Cave, because that's where I saved everything. And you're going to see a lot of different things there. All the other stuff, the .back file, whatever that is. There's my PLT, or there's my PLT file. There's my DAT file. And here's our two SVG files, and they say SVG file on them. And Illustrator picks up on that it's compatible with them, apparently. I want to upload the plan. And there she is, with 1.5 billion vectors in my layers. That's the only annoying part. If I zoom in, there's B1. There's my LRUD lines that it makes. Yeah, actually, it looks like it's perpendicular to and perpendicular from. It's very interesting. I've never really paid attention too much. This is scaled to 20 feet to an inch as well. So if we're at 100% there, and it loads in a scale. And we'll talk about how to work Illustrator and like I'm clicking Control plus to zoom in, Control minus to zoom in. I'm clicking H to get a hand and move around. All that stuff is also in this corner here, but you'll end up getting used to some of those faster quick keys. But what I do when I get and we're just going to put the plan in for today. I come to my layers, which always are going to pull up when you open Illustrator. I go to create a new layer, and I just call it plan line plot. I choose a color for it. I always usually do a lighter one, and then I click OK. So plan line plot. I'm making this new layer because I want to get rid of these things that don't matter. We want the labels. We don't want the grid. So I'm just going to unview that. Remember, we can toggle visibility, we can lock layers, and we can view even deeper into layers. We want the legend. That's in the bottom corner here, because that's our scale, and it's going to be important at the end of the map to still have that. Our frame is that outer black frame. We don't need that. This is our actual survey. We need that. Our walls, kind of weird. I don't know why, but this one, it says walls, but it doesn't do anything. So I never take that with me. Detail, don't need that. Doesn't do anything. Mask, don't need it. We want the comp tracing because we want the 3D effect possibly for later. We don't need any of the compass features. We don't need the reference, which is just a very, very small text. You know, we'll keep it because it keeps the it keeps a lot of the scale information. It says it's at 0 pitch. It says it's facing north. I'm going to keep that. And then we want the white background gone. So I know I need this layer, this layer, this layer, this layer, this layer. I just click, oops, wrong button. I hold shift. Oh, nope, I don't. I hold control and I control click that one, that one, that one, and that one. And I drag them into the plan line plot. I can collapse that layer and open it. Everything else is dead to me. And I just delete it by highlighting it all and dragging it to the trash can. So now we have a very clean Illustrator file of our line plot. We really don't need the profile anytime soon, and it might be a little much to start with in retrospect. So what else do we need? We need our scans, and those are really easy to pull up. And I'm just going to pull up one to show you what we do here. I do want to pre-find the one that I'm going to pull up, though, and what it's called, because I want to make sure I pull up the right one. I just want to make sure we get a plan that'll work. 151. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call it scans. I now have a scans layer. I'm going to just click on the scans layer. I'm going to click file. I'm going to click place. And the reason I'm clicking place is because I'm placing a file into this layer in this document. If you click open, you're going to open a whole new Illustrator file. You want the scan in this file, you want to place it in there. You don't want to go open a new file that just has a scan in it in Illustrator. So you click place, Team A scan. Oh, shoot. It doesn't like, okay, hang on. I got to unzip it. And I'm just going to put it on my desktop so I can do this quick. We're going to click the scans layer. We're going to click file, place. Place our scan, and there it is. The problem is you can't see behind it. It might not be oriented correctly. So what you do is in your scans, you can actually change the transparency, which we will, this is sort of a next time thing, but I just want to show you why we're getting the line plot in here. Under transparency, I can go 50%. Now I can sort of place it on our line plot, and I'm also going to take off that from our line plot. So what we're going to be doing is taking each individual scan, and you can see this was A1. Is AZ? AZ must be, that must be A1. No, that's A2. We're going to line up A2, and I'm just clicking the rotate to AA.
Bo,
And
I think
you
the
can see it's
AA
pretty close.
Oh, you got it. Never mind. Sorry.
AA doesn't, as it continues, AB is a little off. Then there's AC, which is a little off. So it sometimes happens like that. But as you do stuff in between stations, you can move it around, or you can scale it down and make it smaller or make it larger, which we'll talk about later. But what you do is you'll line this up. You'll make a layer called walls. And then you'll like start drawing walls. And that's, we use symbols and we use swatches and other things to make this go faster. You know, there's a lot of ways you can have symbols pre-made for stalagmites already or stalactites. You can have a whole brush for your ceiling changes and floor ledges, and I have all those made already, so we'll be able to just use those. Or you can make them from scratch, but that's a later thing. So what, I'm over my time here. What I wanted to do, what I think is good, if you guys want to try it on your own to get to this point where you have the plan line plot in, and then you also add in all the scans. And what you can do is you can name these scans, like this is A2 to AC. And then that way, when we share this file, you know, and you want to work on A2 to AC, you can like unhide it really quick and start working on A2 to AC type of thing. So, you know, for those that are looking to still do this, whether they're on right now or looking at the recording, using Howard's PowerPoint and this as well, if you want to, as a reference, you should be able to get a line plot in Illustrator, scaled correctly, and then put all of the scans that we currently have in Illustrator. And they should, if the person sketched it right, you know, a way to check yourself is that they should line up pretty well because it's all scaled correctly. Questions? Does anybody feel like, you know, I know some of you guys submitted the DAT file, and I hope that was a good experience. I'd be looking for somebody or multiple people to submit an Illustrator file with just the plan line plot in it, and then all of our scans. And then with that, we could keep going next week and start drawing essentially. And what we can do is we can piece out the drawing. We can have, because we can work in layers, somebody could draw all the walls and share all the walls, or somebody could draw the A team and B team walls. And then we can copy that layer like into one document. So there's a way to piece out this additional work. We could have somebody do all of the ceiling changes. And that would be a thing that we could copy a layer and paste it in a master file type of thing. So there's a lot we can do. We need a few people to understand this more, and you're not supposed to understand Illustrator yet. You're just supposed to be able to get a line plot into Illustrator and then get the scans in Illustrator, and then we'll spend a lot more time on how to work on Illustrator. And again, people do this stuff with just a mouse, and some people invest in a drawing pad. Again, all of that's discussed in Howard's presentation. And I'm just gonna, as you can see here, he goes through way more detail than me, exactly what to do step by step. He's changing the scale. He's mentioning, oh my gosh, my map disappeared because he changed the scale. And then he's like, oh no, you got to go find it by changing the paper size. And then he click export SVG. And he shows you even what to click. In this case, he removed Illustrator tags. So yeah, that's all I wanted to do for this one. I'll make a post on the Facebook group with the PowerPoint with what I think would be best for people to run through if they want to keep working on this. And then we'll post a new time to start drawing with those scans that we have on just the plan view.
And is there, I guess we'll if we want to try to do this, we'll need to use the SVG exporter also?
Yes. Oh, however, there is CaveWhere, and I know one of you guys were familiar with CaveWhere.
Yeah, I had used that because I can use that on my Mac.
If you've used CaveWhere before, if you've used it before, you could use that. And the reason I haven't talked about it much yet is because people need to understand this concept where you're taking each scan, putting it in, matching it up, drawing, rotating it if you need to manually, before they really can appreciate CaveWhere, which I'm seeing if I can pull up. There we go. There's the cascade. CaveWhere is going to, you can see how rough the scans were, because this should never happen. Look at the difference in scale. But CaveWhere automatically puts the scans together, morphs them where they need to be morphed. So you can upload it as one file. It's a little cleaner down here. You can upload it as one file and put all your and then that's it. It's already scaled to the line plot, and your line plot's already entered through CaveWhere. And you do that, it's very nice, the system. I'm not super used to CaveWhere yet, but you do that by by just going through each scan and listing the station, like matching the stations on the scan and naming them correctly. And all you need to do this is that same PLT file. So I went through and I saw AAC1 there, AB20, AAC2, and the rest is magic. It just puts it all together. The hard part is when you export this, do I select an area to export? Yeah, I can never remember. When you export it, the memory required gets into like multiple gigs very quickly, depending on the resolution you're going for. So if you want to export a really large map at once, it's going to be a huge file, hard to share. But if you're just exporting parts of Climax at once, it's very easy. So CaveWhere, I'm not going into it today, but if you're comfortable with it, or if you want me to just send some instructions on CaveWhere or walk through it anytime, really, we will talk about CaveWhere in this, but we're going to just do the SVG process first, because it's hard to understand the benefit of this without kind of seeing how we do it on SVG Exporter. And then the other issue is if you do have a major scale issue, like it wasn't sketched to scale when it was first sketched, there's not much you can do with this by itself. It's a little tricky to decipher. Anyway, CaveWhere is another way to do this, and I don't want to keep you guys any longer. And this is enough for one recording. Are you like comfortable with CaveWhere that you want to try to? Because I still have more to learn about CaveWhere too. If you
I've only used it once.
okay.
So I am as comfortable with that as I am probably with what you are showing us right now.
Okay. I know you if you want never mind. I don't want to. I'm not going to get into it. If it's not too bad, but you have to upload. You start with the PLT file, and then you start uploading the scans, and then you work on each scan individually and just click the stations. But yeah. So I'll post all that. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Yeah, I'll probably take a shot at bringing in the layers and learning Illustrator. I've never used it, so.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, yep.
I do have a question though on the data entry into the .dat files. What's like acceptable error on the back shots? Because that's kind of where I got lost. I was like, I know these should be matching up, but I don't know where the error starts to like get. Like, do you guys generally do like 2 or 3 degrees? Is it half a degree?
Yeah, so 2 degrees is like the old acceptable. You know what? The Facebook group's got it almost posted better here.
Okay.
2 degrees is acceptable. That's what I go by. That's sort of the old acceptable range. With laser instruments, people might try to trim that down. But I do 2 degrees. I think 2 degrees is still a lot, but that's just been my rule of thumb with this stuff. So when we get into 3 at 7.2, 23, that, those are red flags, and we might as well just go, fix them all. Aaron, Stephanie, are you guys, you wouldn't do it much different than what the standard is in the actual cave.
It also depends on the project, and so, with you guys running this project at, and having a agreement at 2 degrees, I think is really reasonable to get. There's some people who are new to using instruments. There's a wide range of instrument calibrations. So 2 degrees and possibly even a little bit more than that. At a big cave project, if it's on federal land, if it's sensitive like anthropological sites and stuff, then they probably want 1 degree or less. So I think again, it depends on the project.
And it gets worse the larger the cave gets. And we kind of have an idea of how big Climax is anyway. We know it's not going to be like a 10-mile cave, but it's still important to have good data for countless unknown reasons in the future.
Yeah, certainly. Just wanted to kind of get the scale of it. Thanks.
All right. I told my wife I'd be done by 7, and she needs the pump, so I'm gonna go relieve her of her duties, and I will make a post in the Facebook group with the PowerPoint with sort of the quote unquote assignment and what we'll plan on next time. And Stephanie and Aaron will work on a date for the next one. Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank